So I remember watching the first Matrix movie as a kid and completely loving it. I love the philosophy, I love the concepts and ideas, and the action was so amazing. When was this made? The 90s? Wow. So you know that when they announced a final Matrix 4, I was all on board with it. Today I want to figure out if the Matrix 4 is as good as the original movie. So in this episode of Masterpiece or Disasterpiece isn't going to be just a straight up review. It's going to be more comparing the Matrix Resurrections to the original while also doing a little bit of a review. So anyway, my name is Friendly Rockman and welcome back to Masterpiece or Disasterpiece. So, when the movie starts off, it's very just a little confusing. So, apparently, there's one guy who's an agent, but then he turns into Morpheus, and these people are watching a version of Trinity that died. It's very weird. But anyway, right now is when we're being introduced to our characters. So, I think right now we should compare the characters of this one to the characters of the old one. And the winner is definitely, this point goes to the new one. Now, don't get me wrong, I was still invested in the characters in the original Matrix for sure. It's just that the characters in the original Matrix were a little bit more, just one-dimensional. For example, you have Neo who wants to find out more about the Matrix and is curious, and then you have Morpheus who's kind of the wise mentor guy, and then Trinity and most of the other members of their group just kind of exist. Now, I'm definitely not saying that the characters in the original Matrix are bad. I'm just saying that I feel the characters in the new one have a little bit more of personalities. So that's why I'm giving this one to the Matrix Resurrections. Yeah, but then anyway, so after Neo, escapes the Matrix, then of course, you have the whole thing of him waking up and meeting everybody, and now we get to another part that we need to compare to the original, which is which one has better concepts or ideas. Now, I know that both movies, are all about how we're all in a simulation, duh, but I'm talking about the other concepts, the other ideas. And, well, this one is a tricky one. And so, the original Matrix, I mean, yeah, sure, it has just some other ideas, but it's mostly just that we're in a simulation. And why would it have much else? I mean, this was the first Matrix movie, so it doesn't really have to have other things in it because this was just the original concept. So, in that case, then it might be the original because the ideas are more original. But to be honest, Matrix 2 and 3 actually dived in to more stuff. For example, a city of human survivors, or Agent Smith being able to multiply himself as a virus within the Matrix. Now, in the Matrix Resurrections, one of the things that I thought was really cool was to see, how Zion and everything has been going, and how, they've kind of been working with the machines and renamed it IO. And no, I'm not talking about Fortnite. But while the Matrix 4 introduces a lot of cool and new ideas, what it fails at is how they put them in there. I mean, it just kind of feels like they threw all these new ideas in here, just kind of crumpled them up into this movie. And a scene that perfectly explains this is a scene where they have this weird robot-y version of Morpheus, right? And it's a cool idea of how they could resurrect people as robots, they could have dived into that more, and then all that happens is Neo just oh yeah, hey, Morpheus, and then that's literally it. So while the Matrix Resurrections introduces new ideas, they're not really explored very much. So I'm gonna have to give this point to the original. And speaking of which, so I want to know which one has the most originality. Duh. And so anyway, what I want to talk about now is more, just the general structure of the movies. Now, I don't mean the concepts or ideas because we already talked about that. I'm more I'm talking about just like the beginning, the middle, and the end. Just like the structure of the movies. So in the beginning, you had in the first act you had like Neo, and he's trying to like figure out like what the Matrix was. He's all curious, and then in the second act, we kind of like talked with Morpheus about it, and then in kind of like the third act, but it starts more around the second act. They go and fight the agents. It's a little bit jumbled, but where like in the new one, it has a very more just like clear structure that, at least in my opinion, works quite a bit better. For example, in the first act, Neo is trying to figure out if he's in the Matrix or not. Just a lot like in the first one, but a little bit different. Since he already knows what it is, he just doesn't know if he's in it. And then in the second act, it's pretty clear, it's like where they go over to the IO. No, I'm not talking about Fortnite. And Neo gets captured, but then the IO kind of decides to go on their side. And then, in the third act, they have like a battle with Smith, and then after that, a battle with his therapist. That is, gotta admit, pretty cool. So, where the original Matrix definitely did have a structure, this one feels like the structure is a little bit more clear and a little bit better of a 3-act structure. But, you know what these movies are known for. They're known for the effects. So, let's see which movie had better action and effects. And I think that definitely the original takes the cake on this one. Now, don't get me wrong. The effects in the Matrix Resurrections are great effects. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying is that, like, the effects in the original, they were all cool and groundbreaking and interesting, and it just feels like in the new Matrix, it's just not quite the same, like, you know what I mean? It just feels a little bit more, just like standard action movie scenes that you've seen like a million times. Now, don't get me wrong, there were definitely a few good effects in it. Like, there was a scene where this one guy is moving at like a different frame rate and everything else is slowed down but a higher frame rate, and it's really cool to look at. It's just that it's not like the whole movie is kind of like made up of those effects, where the original Matrix, that was, it felt just like we were in a simulation, and the ideas are groundbreaking, and it just feels more like with the story and everything. This one just felt a little bit more standard, which is fine. I'm not saying that that's bad, and I know that the VFX artist for this movie definitely worked very hard. I'm just saying that it's hard to make something as groundbreaking as the original. So, anyway, at the end of the day, I counted up the points, and yep, the original Matrix is better. Now, don't get me wrong. The Matrix Resurrections is a great movie, and it's good. But what I'm saying is that the original Matrix will just always be, more original and was just more fresh and new altogether. Now, while this new one is great, nevertheless, it does kind of capture the magic of the original. It's not like it's better than the original. The original is always going to take the cake. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. My name is Friendly Rockman, and thanks for watching another masterpiece or disaster piece movie review. This one wasn't really a review, but yeah, guys, thanks so much for watching. My name is Friendly Rockman. See you next time.